Thank you, Stina. Thank you for inviting me. Usually it takes a bit of effort to get me from The Hague to Heerenveen, but this exhibition is truly worth it. So I'm really happy to be here. Now, most of the things you can see here, I've seen only in reproduction until today. So it's for me also the first time that I see them in real life now. And I'm really happy with what I see. I like it a lot. And Marisa is actually the one who asked me if I would be willing to say a few words here. Well, I am willing, but maybe it's good to introduce myself a little bit more than you just did, because indeed I work in the library of Leiden University, and not many people know, but Leiden University has one of the biggest collections of drawings in the country. And it's a collection which starts in 1500 and goes until the present day, and it's about 14,500 drawings. And we still collect, but we only collect contemporary drawings. So that's a bit, say, so you know a little bit of the background why I'm working with drawings. And I enjoy very much, not just the contact with artists, but also seeing what happens. It's very exciting. And the Galerie Getekend here in Heerenveen, because you know drawing has received much more attention in, well, say the last 2 decades. It's going with artists as well as with collectors. And Galerie Getekend is a factor, an important factor in the Netherlands in this, well, what you say, triumph of drawing. Mm-hmm. Because, well, to me also drawing remains always the most important art form. Well, Clément Fourment, Miles, and Marisa Rappard, they are 3 very different artists, as you can see here. But of course, they also have a lot of things in common, because otherwise, why would they be in one exhibition here? And, well, one of the things I have tried to ask myself is, what is it exactly what they do have in common, and what does it mean, and how does it work? And, well, there's also, you all received the invitation, I think, from Galerie Getekend, so there's already some text there, you read it. But I will try to add a little bit to that. What Rob and Marisa and Clément have in common is, I think, is a very particular handling of space. I think the invitation talked more about perspective, but I would use the word space, although you can debate about what is a primary denominator, but I think it's space. And how do they do that? Well, they do that by using grids or patterns. And these grids or patterns, they change the space as we observe it in daily life, but also in art. And, well, why do they do that? We all have to deal with the real world outside us. And that's not something which is new to art. That has always happened. It starts already, like, say, in the 16th century. The 16th century is actually my century, the century where I work, usually. But it still happens in the present day. And that is because, well, it has changed a lot in recent years. You might say that it started actually in, say, in the time around 1900, when you had artists like Cézanne or Braque or Picasso, who started to question our observation, the way we look at reality, the way we look at the world around us. But in recent years, it has changed much more, and that's because of the digital world, of course. Because we all have to deal with the real world, but we also have to deal now with the digital world. And the digital world has become part of our world. And actually that means that there's an endless world, because it goes on and on. Digital world reproduces the real world many, many times. It's an endless world it has become. And, well, how do we, what is our relation with this reality, with this world around us? You can have it like a quite intimate world. Like in the work of Rob Miles, you see that's a very private world he depicts in his drawings. I might say things the artist say, oh, I do not agree with that. We can talk about that later. And while on the opposite side, you might say you have the work of Marisa, which deals very much with the digital world, which is like an endless world. And, but still they do something which is very similar. They create a view of the outside world, which is very much one which, it fragments this world. It makes it a bit more abstract. It creates a certain distance. Because if you use a grid or if you focus on patterns, then you make sort of a barrier between yourself and the reality you see. And you see this with all these three artists. If I say, for example, you look at the work of Rob Miles, which is on that wall, you see these two interiors, and they look a bit like boxes where you say the walls have been flapped down. It's like it's a box where you can look at in different perspectives, you can look at the same space. And there are many objects. All these objects are of equal importance, I would say. There's not one focus in the drawing, but there are many objects. And you see them from different sides. So, and sometimes there's even one object which you see from different sides. And one of the things I like to, especially about these drawings, is that you see in the margins these small, tiny figures, people sitting at a table and doing something. And also these people are fragmented. And they have legs which some way do not attach to their bodies, or their heads are upside down. And at first I thought, oh, these are people that inhabit this space. But then later I saw that Rob actually reproduces here paintings he made, which are exactly these kind of figures. So from what I think now is that these are actually artworks that have found a place in these interiors, which makes them like, well, you look in the interiors and then you look to another world again. It's like a tiny exhibition, all these drawings, and that also goes for the drawings, I think, of Clément and of Marisa. Each one is a tiny exhibition in itself, because it gives us a view of other worlds. In the work of Clément, which is very different from the work of Rob, you see right away, it is the thing that is lacking is color, almost entirely. Not all the work of Clément is without color, but these two drawings, these large ones that hang here, obviously are. And you can see that there's very obviously a grid. And the grid is, in this case, well, something like a cupboard with shelves, and in a compartment, and in these compartments, objects are visible, and very different objects. The objects are cut out from prints, I think, or maybe old newspapers or magazines, and they are pasted in. Other objects are drawn by hand, and they are all sort of what you might call cultural objects. So it's pots, statues, vases, and they are, but many compartments are empty. Many compartments are empty, and some compartments, and I wasn't sure about that when I looked at the reproductions, but I saw that this, two compartments have like a flash of light. There's one light and the other is dark. And so it looks like the objects have disappeared there. So in some way, this frame of compartments, it's like a space in which objects can disappear. Well, it's of course all up to you what you think of all these drawings and how you interpret them, but that's a thing I see. It's like a frame which is, well, it's blocking, it's like a barrier between us and the objects in the frame. And the same, well, I work in a library, so I'm always happy to see books like that drawing. And there's some of these books you even recognize, or at least the objects depicted in these books. Some are famous artworks, others are about physics and such. And that's also, here it's not so much a cupboard or shelves, but it's a grid that the artist has drawn himself. Well, it's almost like photographs. Well, it's not like photographs, but I mean, it looks really like there are books that are actually depicted and lying there at the surface. But then when you look closer and you look close up, then you see that there's a distance between the books and us. And for one reason is the grid, but the other reason is the material that the artist used to draw it. Yeah. And then here this huge drawing by Marisa, which is it's very colorful again. Marisa's work usually is very colorful. It's not always this. This is a lot of green, bluish tints, but there were drawings also which are very much pink, for example. So the first, and you see different rectangles with mostly abstract shapes, but definitely not all of them. There are also, you see figures like the head of a person repeated several times, or a complete figure dancing, maybe, also repeated multiple times. And all these rectangles, they look like they are, how would you say, moving before and after each other. And there's some, well, I see some beweging, movement in them. And there's also a head here down here below, which is, you don't really know what's happening there, but and there's also this text, of course. We have the broad horizon. It's very prominent, almost in the center of the image. Of all the three artists here, I think Marisa is the most abstract in appearance. Maybe that is also because she focuses on the digital world more than the other artists. But she creates like a pattern, a grid. And this grid creates a distance. It makes it more abstract. And that's, of course, well, the world, in recent years, say in the last 2 decades, has become bigger and smaller at the same time. It has become bigger because, well, nowadays we can see what happens in Gaza right at this moment, but you can also see what happens in Beijing or in Rio de Janeiro. We know everything now. It has come closer. So also in a way it becomes smaller because of that, because the whole world is nearby. It's not far away anymore. So when I was young, America was still very far away. And you had images, of course, and photographs and such. But nowadays, when I send cooking in my kitchen, I can at the same time, I can listen to a news report from Africa. And I have people living far away who send me messages. So the whole world is coming into my house. And I think everyone has that experience. And I think that's a little bit what you see in the drawings of Marisa, that there are many different worlds at the same time active, many different realities. It's the question, how should we relate to that? And how does that work for us? And well, how it works in the end, that's up to you. It's not something the artist can prescribe, or I think they leave the freedom. So this is a bit, well, what I think connects these three artists. Marisa, Clément, and Rob, congratulations with your wonderful show. It's amazing that we can see them, all these drawings here now together. And Stina, you, congratulations with this exhibition. I hope it will be a great success. And thank you all for being here.
Thank you.